Welcome to the Lakers Room. This is another episode of Laker Room Conversation. We got a long time NBA journalist here. You see him. We got Scoop B in the house. I've been waiting to get with this guy for a minute. I've been doing some research. Got a lot of questions that I want to talk about. I want to talk a little bit about some stuff that's going on right now. But the first thing I want to dive into, man, is I see that you got into your sports journalism career at 12, which for one, I'll say that is fantastic bravery. I see that you started working with the New Jersey Nets in the 90s. I believe it was called Net Slamming Radio. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm asking that to say, at what age did you actually get into journalism or storytelling, whether it was about sports or not?
Good to be on your show first and foremost. Net Slamming Planet started when I was 12 years old. I auditioned amongst hundreds of kids at Chelsea Pier, Manhattan. And what happened was, at first, I was supposed to be a kids radio personality for a radio show called 1660 AM Oz World Radio. And their radio station was in Liberty Science Center in Jersey City, New Jersey. And what ended up happening was I went through the first audition, second audition, I killed it at Dangerfield's Comedy Club. And at the time, the Nets were rebranding. They had a new logo. Keith Van Horn was their first pick in the 97 draft. John Calipari was the vice president of basketball operations as well as the head coach. And the Nets were looking for local talent. And the Nets were looking for a kid who was interested in basketball. And Oswald Radio named me. And the Nets contacted my parents. And I went through the interview process, and I was a fit. But prior to that, I was a kids radio personality at Oswald Radio. We did commercials for like public service announcements for the Crash Dummies and things of that sort. And I did the first year for 1660 AM Oswald Radio, and it opened my eyes to just the formalities of just basketball, the business of it, journalism, and more. But then the second year, I did it on 620 AM. One-on-one sports, which is now defunct. It was in New York City as well. And but prior to that, I had an interest in basketball because I was around it since I was a kid, around entertainers and other athletes and more. My family owned and operated two shoe businesses in Harlem. So Men's Walkers and the Athlete's Foot, were both on 125th Street in Harlem. So we used to do sneaker releases with Spud Webb, Dominique Wilkins, Hakeem Olajuwon. This was before he changed his name to Hakeem. It was Hakeem. Clyde Drexler, a myriad of people. The Wayans brothers used to shop in our store. And, essentially those exposure at a young age to just stars and celebrities was kind of my introduction to the business. I also had an uncle who ran a basketball league in Harlem called Citywide. And so anybody who was a high school phenom at that point played. Kenny Smith, Stephon Marbury, Mark Jackson, Kenny Anderson, Rod Strickland, Bernard King, the list goes on and on. And so that was kind of my introduction to the game, the industry, the lifestyle. And the Nets gave me that formality. I did the show for 2 years. And here we are today talking.
Yeah, man, and you dropped some names there, and I'll say, even growing up in New York, it sounds like you are heavy, rich in culture, man. Even probably with the time period, like God probably gave you a perfect blend of everything you needed, obviously, to become who you became. So I just want to touch quickly because I did see a lot of hip hop journalism. I seen you interviewing a lot of names, even in that space, and I also could see like the fanhood kind of like that runs deep in you. So what was it like writing? I believe you wrote for The Source or editing for The Source. And then is there any hip hop like dream interviews that you've ever had? Or
The Source for me was cool because I grew up reading it, just like Sports Illustrated, Slam Magazine, ESPN the magazine. But I kind of stumbled upon The Source by accident. When I graduated grad school, I went to Hofstra University for grad school in Long Island. I was looking for a job, and nobody was hiring, and I was freelancing at one point between 5 to 12 publications at one time. I was living in my grandmother's basement, had a double door fridge. The refrigerator side didn't work. The freezer side was able to refrigerate my food. I was cooking on George Foreman grill, hot pot, had no stove, no oven, and had a food stamp card in my back pocket. And I was figuring a lot of things out. And so at one point I was freelancing at about, I'll say 5 to 12 different publications because it varied. I was at Max Preps. I was at Slam. I was at Queens Times Ledger, Brooklyn Courier, East Orange Record, all these different places, and just figuring a lot of things out. And at the time, I was invited to a panel at the New York Times, where the publisher of the Source was there, and then some of the editorial team was there, and they were like, "Yo, we would love for you to write at the Source." I said, "Cool." So I come in for an interview, and they were like, "You meet all the qualifications, but we can't pay you." And I was like, "You can't?" He was like, "No." So they were like, "Would you like to proceed with this or not?" And something said, "Just stick with it," and I did. And during that time at the Source, I learned so much about the industry. The I guess you could say the people who don't have a budget, the underworld, and how to really craft things out of thin air. I crowdfunded to go to the NBA All-Star game in 2014 because the Source would pay for me to go. And I used my social media and was able to pay for myself and the videographer to go, to the angst of many of the journalism elite that felt as though I should have been more quiet about it. So that was I was at the Source from I want to say 2012 or 2013 to about 2015. I was at the press conference with Adam Silver, banned Donald Sterling from owning an NBA team, specifically the Clippers for life. I've written features on PlayStation. I've written features on a myriad of things, and I've also been around a lot of rappers that inspired me, specifically from high school through grad school. Rihanna, Jay-Z, Memphis Bleak, Freeway, Cassidy, just a myriad of people. So I think that experience really blended my love for culture, my love for hip hop, my love for sports and lifestyle into one facet. So the Source days really, for me, are something that even though I wasn't getting paid on the books, it was something that I really I look back on and smile. Specifically when I took a trip to New Orleans a couple of weeks ago, and I crowdfunded in 2014 to go to the All-Star game, and I was in New Orleans, and I'm at the casino. I'm on Bourbon Street. I'm just enjoying the things and just texting people who were with me and like, man, do you remember when we were here and we didn't know what we were doing, but I'm glad we made it through. So those times I hold fondly in my heart.
I went through something similar in LA, 2026 All-Star game. But no, and what I wanted to ask, and this is for specifically for like people that are interested in journalism. I ain't go to no college. I wish I had them. I probably still might go just for like some creative writing courses and things like that. How much, like, you got your master in arts and journalism at Hofstra? How much has that impacted the success of your journalism career? I see what somebody would have been successful anyway. And also, how many more doors does that get you in?
I think that journalism is nuanced because it's about your last stop and your body of work. But I just know as a parent or as a child of an educator and myself being a Black man, I know that you have to be 20 times better to be considered half as good. And so for me, the education part was a non-negotiable, and I was my mom because even though I had an early start as a child, that the doors that we face, and I think that education is important, even if you're not in the field. There were times where the field wasn't calling my name, and I, as having a master's degree, I was able to teach college level courses to college students. So for me, I utilized my master's degree not just to be in the field, but I utilized it because it opened and unlocked other doors. Whether that was, my time as a professor at NJIT for about 7 years. I was a visiting professor at Ohio University. And then I did some professor work at other local colleges, Pillar College and NJCU as well. So for me, there's the duality of being able to teach and make a living, but also knowing that you're a student of your craft and that you are positioning yourself as not just somebody else, but one of one.
Yeah, and it's funny, like I even tell my daughters, I have two daughters, I'm like, no matter what y'all see me do as far as like, oh, hustle or get it out the mud, the power of education a lot of times will make the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you want to learn a lot, but just even having the education, because there is even a difference there. But all right, so let's go back real quick to like that '90s New Jersey, and I was gonna ask for a specific year, but it sounds like you kind of missed the Kobe fiasco when he told them not to draft him. But what was life like being a kid in the locker room? Who were some of your favorite players on that New Jersey Nets team, and any stories you could share from them?
So yeah, I came in the '97. I was there from '97 to about 2000. So I was there. And then my first year was '97, '98 season, and then the lockout shortened season the following year. I was around the Last Dance Bulls, and I made a lot of friends with players on the opposing teams, not just players on the Nets. On the Nets side of things, a lot of those guys I'm still in contact with to this day. Whenever I go to Oklahoma City, I bump into Michael Cage, who was a backup center to Jason Williams on that team, and he's a broadcaster for the Oklahoma City Thunder now. So Michael Cage, Jason Williams, Sam Cassell, who's now an assistant with the Boston Celtics. I really got Sam and I will text from time to time. I bumped into Sam King Day weekend. I was out in Atlanta, and I flew in, and I had knee surgery back in September, and he I had a cane. At that point, I was just walking with a cane, just getting around the airport and stuff. I'm fine now. And when he saw me, he was sitting on the bench. This was pre-game. He said, "What the fuck you do now, Scoop?" He said, "You 40. It's time to hang it up. Cut it out." And we were just laughing about that. But those relationships, they carry over. Sam and I got really, really cool when he was an assistant as an adult for me. When he was an assistant with the 76ers under Doc Rivers. And so Sam and I have history there. Kendall Gill, somebody that I'm still very, very cool with to this day. I have a forthcoming project that you'll be seeing with he and I soon on that. Jason Williams, through the trials and the tribulations of his legal issues, he and I still text and talk regularly. Kerry Kittles was on that team. He and I are still cool. So those are guys on that. Stephon Marbury, also a member.
Yeah.
Team Steph and I are very close and very cool. I missed his call last night. I was knocked out. So yeah, there's a lot of guys on that team that I'm still cool with to this day. Outside of the Nets, there were guys that I got cool with. Vernon Maxwell. I have a pair of his sneakers when he played for the Charlotte Hornets. He left them for me after a game, and I still have them in my closet here in my home. Derek Coleman, the late Anthony Mason, Jason Caffey, who was a member of the Bulls Last Dance team, Ron Harper on that Bulls Last Dance team, Scottie Pippen. So it's a lot of guys. I was around Kobe. I was around Shaq. I was around Tim Duncan, David Robinson, Karl Malone, John Stockton, Reggie Miller. I've definitely been blessed to be around a lot of those 90s stars. I did meet Michael Jordan during that time in the locker room when I was a kid. They say you're not supposed to meet your heroes. I'm glad I met him as a kid.
Understood. Totally understand on that one.
Yeah.
All right, now let me ask, and we're gonna kind of jump around just because I know if we did in depth, I could probably end up talking to you for 3 hours. But in your time of covering basketball, and I'm just asking this question kind of even because I want to hear it for myself. Who is the most unstoppable team, and not like a dynasty or anything, but just like example for me, it's the 2001 Lakers. Obviously, I'm highly biased, but who is the most unstoppable team for you?
That I've watched or during that time of me being around it as a kid.
That you watch, maybe even I'll say maybe even that you researched, like because I wasn't even born when the Showtime was doing their thing. I can tell you everything about them.
What was it? The 72 and 10, 95, 96 Bulls team? I mean, to me, they're unstoppable because the Warriors beat the record and they didn't win.
It's true.
But I also just think that comparing eras is legitimately just not productive because some of these teams didn't play against each other. Like the 95, 96 Bulls didn't play against that Warriors team. And, but I've been around those teams, and I'll say that I think I'm biased because that was a childhood team, the Bulls team. But I also worked and covered the Warriors team. And as much as people talk about that team that beat the Bulls record, I enjoyed watching the 21-22 Warriors when they beat the Celtics. I think they were so very underestimated. And the Celtics team that had better personnel on that team, but they were a young Celtics team, but the Warriors still took care of business. Like a lot of people, including myself, thought the Celtics had that in the bag, and they didn't. And the Warriors came out and did their thing, and it took disappointment for the Celtics to finally come out and win it in 2024. So, I think that those unstoppable. That's like saying, Shaq is the most dominant player on the Lakers, and then now they call Giannis the most dominant. But Giannis and Shaq, they don't even play the same position. They just mean different things for different eras. So,
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of teams that I enjoy watching that may not have even won an NBA championship. So, that's kind of how I stand on it.
Yeah. I like the 95, 96 Bulls though. Even though I don't want to compare any of these teams to each other, but I actually just got done reading the Phil Jackson book. You probably can't see it back there, but it's 11 Rings. And I also read the Michael Jordan book by Roland Lazenby. And it sounded like in 95, 96, everything just a lot of the Bulls, obviously, it was a systematic team with like, the triangle offense and stuff. And outside of Scotty and Mike, a lot of that was like they still kept the team together. Like you got John Paxson for the first run, Steve Kerr for the next one. But it was harmony. They meditating together. They all coming, whatever the case may be. They might lose real bad and take the day off and just go watch a movie. But Phil Jackson was about mindfulness, So I like the 95, 96 Bulls, and he kind of said something like that in the book. All right, and then just another random question, and this just internet love this stuff. If you starting from rookie year, and this is with hindsight being 2020, are you going to draft Michael or LeBron or somebody else if you got the number one pick to start a franchise with?
I think I would start LeBron only because I was around LeBron from start to now. Michael, I wasn't born when Michael was drafted. I was born in '85. Michael was drafted in '84. But my recollection of Michael started in '91. I was 6 years old, and I watched Michael is the reason why I like the game of basketball. But I think LeBron was heralded differently than Michael coming out of the draft. Like I feel like we looked at Bowie, how in '84. With how I think certain people heralded LeBron, and maybe that's not the easiest or the best comparison or the translation. I feel like Greg Oden is more of a equally translation to Bowie specifically. Mm-hmm. But nobody was coming before LeBron in that draft in 2003. Even though I believe that Carmelo Anthony had the better rookie season, but they gave the MVP, or rather the Rookie of the Year trophy to LeBron James. I like the way LeBron moves, but I also give credit to the fact that, Michael, if it wasn't for Michael and Dr. J, there would be no LeBron and Kobe type of sneaker deals. Like, I appreciate LeBron's ability to just be himself and carry that torch from when LeBron left. And I also think you can appreciate LeBron without bashing LeBron because of Michael. And you can also appreciate Michael and still like LeBron the same breath. If you ask me who am I drafting today, it's LeBron because I've been chronicling and watching LeBron since he was 16 years old, and I just have an appreciation. That's just my preference. But as far as favorite basketball player, Michael Jordan is my favorite basketball player.
Got you. But drafting, you start with LeBron. That's probably where I would go to, truthfully. And it's crazy. Until I really dove deep back into the basketball journalism, I didn't realize these legions of LeBron fans and Michael Jordan fans. And I'm a big Kobe guy, but I ain't that serious to the point where I ain't hearing nothing about the other side or whatever the case. But that's what it is, and it's insane, and it's even a little scary at times. But all right, are you a fan more of this free-flowing, unimpeded, high-scoring basketball, or do you like more of the physical, strategic basketball of yesteryear?
I like both. Okay. The '90s, you saw the how it was, and you saw the rule changes, and then, I appreciate the Euro style. I appreciate the Euro style because I feel like that is the standard that both European and AAU basketball set, where there's positionless basketball. I think when you looked at Tyson Chandler playing on NBA 2K in his first couple years in the league, so we're talking like what, 2000, 2001, somewhere around there. He came out of Dominguez. Scott Skiles didn't know whether he was a small forward or center. In today's game, Tyson Chandler will be playing like Wemby. and allowed to do that.
Yeah.
I think basketball from 2000 to 2026 has evolved. Like even towards the end of their careers, Dwight Howard and Brooke Lopez had to be faster than Zydrunas Ilgauskas.
Yeah.
15, 16, 17, 18 footers. Like the Golden State Warriors, as far as the deep three, created a standard of how the three is it can be the high percentage shot in a fast break. Hate or love it, that's not going anywhere, but it has to be done within a systematic flow. It can't just be because you think it's the high percentage shot. It has to go within the flow of the game. But big men, not being Shaq anymore, I think there's going to become a point where that system of basketball is going to come back at some point, but it's going to be a hybrid flow. It's nothing. There's nothing new under the sun, and ketchup only comes in a bottle. So I feel like the game is not going to catch up to Shaq. It's just going to evolve in a free-flowing type of system where you have many hybrids within that ecosystem.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think the only thing I like mostly about like the past is more the 5 players kind of on a string, like every player kind of having a role at least versus being able to just take a lot of possessions off and things like that. But I'm like you, I love it regardless. I've always loved it. All right, another thing, who's your David Stern or Adam Silver as far as commissioner? Who you like more?
I have a good relationship with Commissioner Silver. I knew David in passing when I was a young kid. And I have colleagues, their relationship was different with Stern. So, Adam Silver has always been kind to me, has been a resource to me. And I like Adam Silver for me personally and professionally.
Okay. And he's grew the game into a huge global brand. That's one thing I think even bigger, well, obviously bigger than NFL because that's not or outside of America really is big. But yeah, the NBA, obviously soccer is massive overseas and stuff like that. But the NBA, I think, rivals all of that, truthfully, especially when it comes to star power. You know what I mean? All right, quick start bench cut. You got Steph Curry, Chris Paul, Steve Nash.
Start bench cut. So you said Steph Curry, Chris Paul, and who?
Steve Nash.
I hate these. I would start Steph Curry. Bench Steve Kerr. Cut Chris Paul.
Okay. And I know that's tough. Even when I threw the Steve Nash in there, I was like, ooh, that's tough. That's tough. All right. Who's some of even if it's one or you name a couple, underrated players from like yesteryear, the 90s, 2000 era? Like for me, like I think like Michael Redd, Brandon Roy, but even going back further, there's a lot more from the 90s you probably think of that I couldn't.
Terrell Brandon.
Oh, Terrell from Minnesota Timberwolves. Yeah, yes. Okay.
And the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Okay. Now that's fire. I actually seen Terrell Brandon on Instagram recently. I don't know, he runs some sort of company. I'm gonna have to hit him up. All right. So I seen you doing an interview and it looked pretty cool. Your grandma said that she wanted you to be a strong black man. Now, outside of basketball, outside anything, what does that mean for you?
You have to endure. I think right now where we are as a society, that level of enduring is in real time, so those years living in her basement and building set the foundation for now and just continuing to build off of that.
That's awesome. And I just wanted to, I know that it had nothing to do with basketball, but I wanted to ask. All right. Talk to us about the genius of Rich Paul.
Nice guy. I think his approach is different because he didn't go to school to be an agent, but he has relationships and he comes from a business background. I was with Rich in November in Cleveland, and we caught up. And one of the things that he and I have in common is we both come from an entrepreneurial background with his family running successful businesses in Cleveland, and of course my family running successful businesses in New York. And I think that those the understanding the supply and the demand, and also just knowing your client and that every client isn't the same, and you create things based upon that particular person, not just cookie cutter, I think makes him stand out. But I also think that when you have your top client that happens to be LeBron James, you establish a lot of hate from people who think that it was handed to him on a silver platter or platinum platter. And I think that he has spent his career defying those odds, getting his own sneaker with New Balance, and also bringing other clients to New Balance as well. So, yeah, man, kudos to Rich and Clutch and always making themselves available to me.
No, for sure. And actually, I don't know if you ever read like the 7 Habits of whatever that book is, but
Highly
it almost
successful.
sounds like
Yeah.
you live a life on interdependence, and that's amazing for you. All right. Funny NBA stories. One that I got from Ryan Ward was like Kobe threw a water bottle at Dwight Howard's head after a loss because Dwight Howard was clowning in the locker room. You got any funny stories you can share with us?
Yeah, I remember. I have a few, but one that stands out to me currently is I remember I was in high school and I went to a Nets practice. I was working and I had some one-on-one time with Brian Scalabrine after a game, and this was the J Kidd Nets era with Kenyon Martin and Kerry Kittles and all those guys. And me and Brian Scalabrine are talking, and all of a sudden, all you hear on the other side of the court is Kenyon Martin. And all I give a fuck about is the fucking game, and we're doing this, that, and the third. And like everybody turned their head, and we're like looking. And he was like, "Yeah, I said it." He kept walking, and when he said it, like I was looking at Scalabrine, and Scalabrine was looking at me. And all of a sudden, we turned back to each other. He was like, "Yeah." So, like I was saying, like we were playing it off like it never happened. Is that trying to think what else. I just remember as a kid being in the locker room, sharing arm space and scrum space with future stars. I was around Stephen A. Smith when he was at the Philadelphia Inquirer. I was around Woj when he was at the Bergen Record newspaper in New Jersey. I was around Chris Broussard when he was at the New York Times. And so just being around guys that, in the late 90s, going into the 2000s, who were about my age now, maybe a little younger, and evolving into the next big thing. And me being a 12-year-old kid without a degree and no prior experience and just soaking up the information and the knowledge. I remember being around the Bulls locker room and being, walking in, and this was back when they had the TVs like you had when you were a kid, and it was like raining outside and you didn't go outside to build it in. And I remember watching Dennis Rodman in the locker room with the box TV, sitting, with pajama pants on, and he had ankle socks on that had poof balls on them, and sitting crisscross applesauce and just watching game tape before the game and being locked in. I remember being around Ewing and Childs and Starks and being around the Knicks during that time, and Chris Childs giving me a pair of his sneakers. I remember Luke Longley giving me a pair of his sneakers. I remember being around Ron Harper, and kind of full circle for me. Ron Harper's sons are in the league, and his sons went to my high school, but covering Dylan Harper at Rutgers last season. And, kind of full circle, I was with LeBron last season and asked LeBron a question about Dylan Harper that went crazy viral on the internet. And then the next week, I bump into Ron at the Garden, and, we're locked in, and it's kind of full circle moment because I covered him when I was a kid. And
they beefing now. Because Ron Harper, I forgot what he said. He said, trading barbs. You know what I mean?
They go back. They're both from the state of Ohio. And, Ron said something about LeBron, and LeBron said something back, but they're not beefing. That's how they play.
Okay, got you. Okay, who are some of your favorite all-time journalists, whether sports or just journalism, period?
As I've gotten older, there are people who I've looked up to that are journalists that once I got to know them, I don't. And then there's some that I've gotten to know that I still have high regards for. So, growing up, Ed Bradley, who's not in sports, was somebody that was the blueprint for me. He was a child prodigy. He was on 60 Minutes, and he killed it. Barbara Walters was somebody that I still have respect for today. And then, you look at people in your field. David Aldridge and his access was enviable to many journalists, but he got the job done. Then I look at Chris Broussard, somebody that I have respect for and have known for a long time. I ran into him at a Christmas party during the holiday at Willie Cologne's house. Willie Cologne played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And
yeah.
We bumped into each other. There are people that I can think of off the top of my head currently.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Okay, and I had this question, and I'll just frame it the best way I can. Does the NBA have a pipeline, or let's say, can you still make it out the hood, or do you got to play AAU basketball and your parents to be able to afford that? And like, is it still the same as before, where the best talent is gonna make it there, or do you got to kind of like
combination of all? Combination of all.
Okay. So there still is opportunity then for anybody, because I don't know, I just got to a point where I was like, man, I feel like if you don't grow up in the circuit, you kind of, and then your parents got to be able to afford that, first of all. Like, it's just a lot to it, but I'm glad even to hear that answer. All right, last basketball question, or I want to ask 2 quick questions about the playoffs, but who's your all-time starting 5? I'm sure you've been asked that before.
Magic Johnson at point, Michael at the 2. LeBron at the 3. Duncan at the 4. Shaq at the 5.
Got you. We're gonna act like you said Kobe, but we got you. That's nice.
Yeah. Listen, I like Kobe, but I like Michael. I feel like, when you're talking about the better shooting guard, I like Michael. I like Magic at the point. But I feel like when you look at my starting 5 of those guys, some would say that there's some redundancy with Magic and LeBron at the 1 and the 3 respectively. If I was to take Magic out of it, then I would probably start LeBron at the 1, Michael at the 2, Kobe at the 3, Duncan at the 4, Shaq at the 5.
Okay, I like it. I like that. Yeah, we'll go with that one. And it's funny, actually, I read in that Phil Jackson book where he kind of compared Michael to Kobe, but he was talking more about their psyche, and he was like, the difference a lot is Michael Jordan likes to compete with everybody on everything. He wants to be better than everybody. He was like, Kobe just really wants to be better than himself. He wanted to compete with himself. Because like they were both very competitive, but in two majorly different ways. And I was like, man, I never thought about it like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
All right. Quick question. Lakers and Rockets tonight. This game and the series. Who do you got tonight in game 2? And who do you have for the series after the Lakers won game 1?
I think this series could go 5 or 6 games. I want to see the Rockets even it out tonight. But to do that, you need some healthy doses of Kevin Durant. You also need a healthy dose of and a focused version of Şengün in order to make that happen. But like I said, I think overall, I think the Lakers are going to win the series. But I'd like to see it go 5 or 6 games.
Let it hear it. Let it hear it. And I'm objective, but I can also be a little bit of a skeptic. And until I seen KD was out for game 1, I was like, yeah, we could for sure. So if we win tonight, we win the series. That's how I feel. Even though it doesn't mean anything to be up 2-0 with home court advantage, but I think we just got a lot of momentum that we were deflated, and that momentum goes a long way in sports too. All right, and then just your prediction for the playoffs. Who's going to be in the finals and who's the NBA champion in 2026?
I think Oklahoma or San Antonio for sure. But as far as the
Boston
playoffs
can't beat them.
What you say?
You're saying Boston can't beat them?
Can't beat who?
Oklahoma or San Antonio?
I think they can. I think that they can. I think these predictions they can go so many different ways. Like and I hate them. That's why I like when you look at last season, like the Pacers came out of nowhere, but the Pacers caught a lick because they were healthy and they beat a Cavs team that wasn't seeing the Pacers coming, just like the Bucks didn't see them coming. So a lot can happen. I think Boston could make that happen. They've proven that before. I think last year was a gap year. But I do enjoy watching San Antonio, and I do enjoy watching Oklahoma. I also think Oklahoma can be beat. I think San Antonio can beat them. I do think Boston can beat them. But it's all about seeding, healthy, the level of health that comes at the right time, and sometimes certain teams that are good could beat easy teams, and then come later in the playoffs play the harder team later in the playoffs, like they did with the easy team. Like you look at Cleveland playing against Toronto, could go either way, right? But say they play a Detroit, or they play I don't know, a Celtics team in the conference finals. It could go a different way. I also look at a situation like the Detroit Pistons, where I feel like Orlando is surging at the right time, and they get taken for granted, and Detroit could be in a situation where they don't even make it, and they were the top seed throughout the course of the season. Like, a lot could change, a lot could happen, and it all comes down to health and maturation at large. So I think that the NBA right now, to me, is kind of similar to the NCAA tournament, where there's no repeat champion.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. There's parity, and that's what Adam Silver wanted. So I like how we wrap that up. And obviously we hope to have you back, maybe even so we can go over these predictions and stuff, or even do an in-depth interview, because then we can have a whole different type of conversation and really get to know each other. But you got the floor, man. You can talk to us about what you got coming in the future, any events you got coming up, or just talk to us about, you got the floor. We'll close it out.
Yeah, just check out Scoopy.com in the blog section. That's where you can check out all my written work. Subscribe to Scoopy Radio podcast on all streaming platforms, and subscribe to Scoopy TV on YouTube, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ScoopB.
All right, yeah, man, it was a pleasure having you. And like I said, we hope to have you again. But yeah, this was fun. And yeah, man, God bless you. God bless America. God bless the Lakers room. We out of here, y'all.